This is part 6 in the video series on factoring polynomials, and in this video we're looking at factoring a trinomial that has two variables. So in the other videos we were looking at one variable, only x, but you can see here in this example we have x as a variable, we also have xy, and we have y. So we're looking at factoring a trinomial that has two variables, in this case x and y. Well, we still use the box X method, and you'll see that it's only a little bit different from what we're used to. Hopefully coming up to this part you've had lots of experience using the box X method with trinomials whose leading coefficient is 1, and which is also greater than 1 as well. So lots of practice, you really have a handle on how to use the box X method. So let me show you how to set this up. So just like in the other cases, we want to put the a term in this part of the box and the c term, 3y squared, in the diagonals. And now at the top of the x, we want to just multiply the coefficients of a and c. So 2 times 3 gives us 6. Whoops. Let me get my pen here. 2 times 3 is 6, so just multiplying the coefficients for a and c, and then at the bottom we want the leading coefficient for b, which is -7. The next stage is to factor out the 6, so it's going to be 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. And then looking at that, which of those factors when added together give us -7? That's going to be these two here, but we have to put a negative for each of them. So that will be -1 and -6. Added together give us -7. Now, the trick here is that because we're looking at two variables, instead of putting in an x with these, we are actually going to put xy. And that will help us solve the factors for this trinomial in two variables. So those numbers are going to go in the diagonals here, but before we do that, we want to factor out 2x squared. And when we factor out 2x squared, we're going to have 2x here and x, because 2x times x, get my green here, 2x times x gives us 2x squared. And then, if we're looking at what number times x goes here, then I think that the factor we're looking for is -xy. So I'm going to use this one in this diagonal here. Now I have to think of what factor times x gives us -1xy, and the answer will be -1y. So -1y times x gives us -xy. That leaves us -6xy that goes in this diagonal, and then we just have to look at 2x times what gives us -6xy. So 2 times what gives us -6, that's going to be -3, and we have an x already, so that's just going to leave us with a y. So our factors now in this case are going to be x and -3y and 2x and -1y. So get my pen again. So 2x minus y, or -1y, is one factor, and x minus 3y is the other factor. And if I want to do my check, I would use FOIL. 2x times x gives me 2x squared. 2x times 3y gives me -6xy. Y times x gives me -xy. And y times -3y is going to give me positive 3y squared. And then when I combine my like terms, -6xy subtract xy, that's going to give me 2x squared minus 7xy plus 3y squared, which was the trinomial that I started off with, so these factors are correct. And let's look at one more example just so we know we have this strategy down pat for when you have a trinomial with more than one variable. So again, here's our example, 3x squared minus 13xy plus 4y squared, and you can see that we have the variables here are x and y, so two variables. So we're going to set up our box first. Our first box is going to be our a term. Our second box is going to be our c term. Then the top of the x is going to be a times c, which in this case is 3 times positive 4, which is 12. And then our b term, which is negative 13, goes in the bottom. So now we're going to factor 12 because we want to find two factors that when we add up together is going to give us negative 13. So we're looking at 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And then looking at these, the only ones that are going to give us negative 13 will be if we do minus 1, negative 1 and negative 12 together. So those become our factors, negative 1 and negative 12, and then remember that you have to put the variables x, y. So important that we do x, y in this part of the x. So those two numbers are then going to go into our diagonals, but before we do that, we want to factor out 3x squared, and 3x squared, whoop, get my pen in this case, there we go, 3x squared will be 3x times x, gives us 3x squared, and then I'm going to put negative xy here, and I'm going to think of a number that when I multiply by x gives me negative xy, and that's going to be negative y. And if I put negative 1xy here, that leaves me with negative 12xy to go here. And 3x times what gives me negative 12xy? That's going to be negative 4y. 3x times negative 4y gives me negative 12xy. So that leaves me with x minus 4y to be one factor and 3x minus y to be my other one. So 3x minus y and x minus 4y will be my factors for the trinomial 3x squared minus 13xy plus 4y squared. Well, that's it for this video, part 6. Thank you for watching.